everyone. Welcome to the Greyautumnrain Knitting Podcast, a podcast about knitting and crocheting and occasional other crafts. I sometimes do some sewing. I'm wearing a dress I made. That's nice. My name's Elizabeth. I am coming to you from Somerville, Massachusetts in the United States. And today is Tuesday, the 6th of March, 2018, and I will of course discuss the weather here because of my British heritage. I have to discuss the weather. It's currently right around the freezing mark, so right around 32, 33 Fahrenheit, 0 Celsius for our friends in civilized metric using countries. So, how are you all? I hope you're fine. I'm having a good day anyway. So, I actually have a theme this week, and my theme is color combinations, because I want to do all the color work, and it got me thinking about color combinations, and I've been on a little crochet hook. I've been hooked on crochet recently, and other stuff like that. So, I wanted to talk about colors. My favorite colors are gray and red, and which one is the absolute favorite depends on the day. But I have a whole bunch of color combinations that I adore. I find that I feel very differently to colors when I'm combining them. For example, I'm not a big fan of blue. Blue is my mom's favorite color, and she kind of was always trying to push it on me, and I was all rebelled. Red, I'm a red person. But I find that I really like blue when you're combining it with a nice pale golden yellow. Blue and yellow together. That always ticks my boxes. Another combination I'm really keen on: black and gold. I'm not I went through a black phase around 1990 when, goth was just becoming really popular. But I actually find that I like black and gold. I'm not big on yellow by itself, but black and gold together is one of my favorites, which is why this dress with little gold roses works so well for me. And I've combined it today. Let you see it. This is a sweater I made back in 2009. I got the yarn from Sandara Yarns Seasons Yarn Club. This was part of the spring subscription. The color name is Sweet Orange Blossom. And orange usually isn't my thing. But it's very kind of golden, yellowy orange. And I find that when I wear it with this dress, it looks more in the gold thing. The pattern, by the way, is Mr. Green Jeans by Amy Swenson. It's a free pattern on Knitty. If you search Ravelry, they link over to the Knitty site where you can get it for free. Because I like free patterns. Who doesn't like free stuff, right? Yeah. Though it's totally worth paying for patterns too. I just bought a couple of patterns from Ellie of Scandier Knits. More on that later, possibly, if I remember. So anyway, where was I? Black and gold, yeah, and this orange, this pale orange that looks sort of gold with this dress. I love color combinations that work well together. So there'll be a lot of talk about color combinations on this episode of the podcast. Anyway, I should get on to finished objects, shouldn't I? Alright, this one was a hoe last time, and now it's a pair of socks. Yay! And again with the color combinations, this is this Knit Pits Felici in Steamer Trunk. It's the Vanilla Latte socks by Virginia Rose Jeans, free pattern on Ravelry that I cannot recommend enough, because this has got to be the fourth, fifth, something or other pair I've made out of these, out of the pattern, and it's the second time I've used this color combination together. I made a pair of socks with the steamer trunk for Martin for his Christmas present, and I used a red called Hollyberry, a stroll red from Knit Picks called Hollyberry for the heels, toes, and cuffs. Well, heels and cuffs, yeah. Heels, toes, and cuffs on that pair. I just did heels and cuffs on this pair because that's the way the yarn ended up working out. Felicia comes in this 6 stripe pattern, and I always tend to try it on the on the M children's socks. Duncan likes knee socks, so I can't do it with him. But on socks for everyone else, including myself, I tend to like to do 2 pattern repeats, and I know roughly how many stripes I need to do a foot. So if I do 2 pattern repeats, then I'm at the same spot and I don't waste yarn, which is important to me. But anyway, I love the way the steamer trunk looks so well with the red Hollyberry that I used it again with a different red. This is Stroll Tonal and Heartfelt. And I just really love the way the browns work with the red. It really sort of plays up the red tones and some of the brown and the more golden tones in this brown. I like the way the colors play together. One of the best things about knitting is getting to play with the way you can combine colors and you can do your own thing. You've got a lot more freedom because you're the one choosing the yarn. So I love these color combinations. And this is the finished pair of socks for Martin. Yay! All right. While we're on the subject of finished socks, I made myself another pair. I'm knocking stuff over. And this will look familiar too, because this is the Felicia Witch's Brew, which I realized I had just enough of left from my previous pair of socks that I made to make myself another pair. Again with the 2 pattern repeats. And this, by the way, is where I ran out of yarn. This was the end of the ball of yarn, and it was only half a stripe. But it's okay. So I'd made myself a pair of socks in this colorway previously. Oh, by the way, the pattern for this one is Eric Luder's Hermione Everyday Socks, which it's got to be at least the 4th time I've used this pattern. Though I had not made a pair for myself in this pattern yet. I'd made I think 3 at least for Margaret. But it's a great pattern. It's another free pattern on Ravelry. If you haven't tried it yet, there is a reason why it is so popular. It's just this nice, easy, lightly textured pattern, just enough texture to keep the sock up. So, and all my heels are the double gusset heels by Christy Payne, because that's my favorite heel for my high arches. If your feet are a different shape, you probably have a different favorite heel. So anyway, I'd made myself a pair of the Witch's Brew colorway with black heels, toes, and cuffs. I really liked them, and I had enough Witch's Brew left over for one more pair of socks. I was going to make them for me, and I said, what shall I combine them with? Well, I really like a green and purple color combination. I'll show you. Yeah. Green and purple. Here's a different green and purple. I love the way green and purple look together. So even though there was no green in the Witch's Brew, color striping thing, I paired it with green, and I think it really works. Now, I'd made 2 other pairs of socks out of Witch's Brew. I'd made a pair for Duncan, where I'd done heels, toes, and cuffs in the blue, and and so that made the color, this color pattern read much more blue and much more boyish. And I'd done another pair for myself with black heel, toes, and cuffs, which was definitely more sort of a goth take on the colorway. And I think this is kind of more of an enchanted forest kind of take on the colorway. I like it. But, you know, you can really change up the way, you know, a sock yarn, a self-serving sock yarn looks depending on what you use for your heels, toes, and cuffs. Color combinations. You get to choose when you knit, and I love it. All right, so that's that. Speaking of color combinations, I have been itching lately to do some crochet. And I find that I haven't done I'm really yearning to do another crochet afghan, but I haven't done that yet. That's a major yarn purchase because I prefer to crochet with wool, with, you know, actual real wool, as opposed to acrylic, and I prefer my afghans on the huge side, you know, where, you know, you can like wrap yourself up in it and be all nice and warm and snuggly. I live in New England for a reason. I like cold weather because it makes snuggling up inside something warm that much nicer. But anyway, I have the color, the crochet bug, and I was thinking that I really wanted some more housewares. So I got a bunch of, I had some Dishy, got a little extra Knit Picks Dishy that's their cotton yarn. And instead of making dishcloths, because I don't really use dishcloths, I decided to make hot pads, because I've been using pot holders that I loomed for, you know, to put under hot plates and stuff. But I decided I wanted to make myself some seasonal pot holders. You know, when you see red and green together, you always think Christmas, right? The Christmas decorations are out, you know, red and green that time of the year. And then there's not a whole lot, you know, some people do Halloween and some people do, you know, other holidays. But I really wanted a set for each time of the year. So I decided I was going to make 8 sets. I've made 2 so far. And I was going to use 3 colors in each set. And I was going to have them color coded for different times of the year. So this is the late winter set, time of the year that's just ending now, with the red, the purple, and the white. And so I've kept the striping consistent and just used a different center each time. And there's no real pattern for this. I've got it on one of my project pages if you want to replicate that, but it's just, you know, it's just a ring. It's just a double crochet ring for 4 rounds, and then I do this loopy 8-sided thing out of, you know, for the last 2 rounds out of these colors. The red one here is actually I go around chaining, and then I do a bunch of half double crochets on the chain to make the loops. It's fairly simple. That's the thing I love about crochet. And I don't always really differentiate between crochet and knitting, because I do both, and I've done both since I was a kid. And they're both things that you do out of yarn. I don't really, to me, they're different techniques for doing stuff with yarn, as opposed to really different crafts. I don't know if that makes sense to anyone else, but it makes sense to me, and that's what matters, right? Things I do need to make sense to me. Things you do just need to make sense to you. So anyway, I've got the late winter set. And then, you know, the matching, and this way when I serve dinner on the, on a nice dining room table, I can have, up to 3 hot dishes on the matching heat pads, and I won't damage the table. And it'll go nicely with my, I actually have different tablecloths for different times of year. So right now it's the end of winter, or the red tablecloth, which is, is on the table. I've got like winter tablecloths, I've got fall tablecloths, and I've got like a couple of spring summer ones. But I like doing that. All right, and then the second set, I actually made this set first, but I'm showing them in your order. This is the early spring set. So here we've got our yellow, our pastel blue, and our green. So this is the early spring set. And again, same, I just kept the same three colors in the same order and just changed which one I started with to make a light spring set. Yeah, I love these. These are great. So these will, next time I change my tablecloth, these will go on my table as light spring set. March is a winter month in the Boston area. We get, where I grew up on Long Island, March was definitely spring. Here, March is definitely winter. And once you just understand that, it won't bother you so much. You've got 4 months. December, January, February, March, all winter months, and then spring. Assuming you don't get 2 feet of snow on April 1st, which has happened. April is your spring month, and then you start getting, April, May is the spring, and then you get, summer. All right, hot pads. I should stay on topic, shouldn't I? Yeah. All right. What's next? Yeah. So last week I showed a Stormy Sky shawl that I made out of the Malabrigo sock that my daughter Margaret had gotten me for Christmas. And I'd also showed the mitts that I'd made for the boys out of their Barocco ultra wool that they got me for Christmas. Now Margaret said, "Oh Mom, I chose that color for you, not for me." Because I'd given I didn't want to be mean and have them like give me presents and then just say, "Oh, thanks," and keep it. They're little kids, but Margaret's older. Margaret's 9. She says, "I chose that color for you." But she really liked the pattern, the Stormy Sky Shawls pattern, so I made her one of her own. Let me get up and let you see the full thing. So here we go. I'll give it back to her after the podcast. She really wanted to wear it to school right away, but she understood that I had to show it on the podcast first. She's very good that way. Anyway, the yarn is one of these stroll gradients that you get in a little cake. This is the first time I've worked with one of their gradients, and I love it. It's called Unicorn Princess. And let me tell you, it might not be an adult color, but it is the perfect little girl color. It is, it's pink and pale purple and darker purple, and with just a hint of the black. And Margaret loves it. It's very Princess Twilight Sparkle. If you have a My Little Pony fan in your house, you will know who Princess Twilight Sparkle is. So Unicorn Princess was definitely a very apt name for this yarn. And I of course put tassels on it because tassels. The black was all I had left. And I only had enough left for one tassel because, of course, I was weighing my yarn and I didn't save any for the tassels. I just used whatever was left when I didn't have enough for another row for the tassel. And I was like, well, she really should have 2 tassels. And I thought, what should I do? I had some stroll in the white. So, since this shawl goes from light to the dark, it made sense to have like the white on one end. Even though there's no white in the gradient, it still kind of makes sense to me. For Unicorn Princesses to have a white tassel, then a black tassel. So, project for my little girl. And again, the Stormy Skies shawl by Life is Cozy. Not a pattern I would have picked out myself, but Margaret picked it out, and I loved doing it. It was more fun. I guess that's another theme of this podcast is I would not have picked the orange yarn for this sweater when I got it as part of the club. I found I really enjoyed it. Sometimes with yarn clubs, be they or even pattern clubs, it's nice to be surprised. It's nice to get something that you might not necessarily have picked. I mean, you have to. It is always a risk. and I tend to, when I do patterns that way, like mystery knit-alongs, which I guess I've only really done once. It was with Isolde Teague, who, if you're a knitter, you probably have heard of her. And I knew I loved her patterns. I've got a whole bunch of her patterns that I've made. But yeah, it's nice to try new things that are not necessarily in your comfort zone. And now Margaret has a new shawl that is the same pattern as mine, and they're actually kind of close to matching since mine's mostly a purple. Anyway, that's cool. All right, now on to works in progress. And the first one's living in this little, it's my favorite sack, one of my jewel bags. Oh, there's a bit of fluff on it. Yarn fluff, it just gets everywhere. It does. Speaking of color combinations, I actually didn't get much there were color combinations of Felici for the their winter release of Felici that I had my eye on, but I was like, oh, I'll get it when it's on sale. I got it when it's on sale. By the time they got it on sale, the one that Margaret was looking at and really wanted was no longer available on the regular Felici. It was the Goth Kitty, but I thought, well, they still have some of it in the worsted, and she really wanted it, so I got in the worsted, and I'm making a worsted weight sock for her. Actually got a hoe, and I've got the other sock on the needles. In fact, I'll probably finish this today because worsted weight socks, right? They're fast. This is the Thua pattern by Bobby Ziegler. I had to look, and it was Bobby somebody. I had to look at my notes for the last name. Bobby Ziegler. It's another free pattern on Knitty. It's from years ago, I think 2005-ish. Anyway, if you look for it on Ravelry, they'll link to the Knitty pattern page. So yeah, it's a worsted weight sock yarn, and I made a worsted weight sock. It's, simple broken rib stitch pattern. And of course I subbed in my new favorite, the double gussetio, because high arches. The other one is not going to match up exactly striping pattern wise, but you can still tell they're a pair. And I love the Goth Kitty, but more importantly, Margaret loves it, and Margaret really wants it. And I know I'm making her worsted weight socks in March, which doesn't seem to make much sense, but I think they will go directly in her sock drawer, because you know what? Nothing will make the warm weather come faster than her having super thick warm socks in her sock drawer. Not that I'm particularly anxious for the warm weather, actually. This is fine. I've got lots of wool. But yeah, it's if you've never made yourself, if you live in a cold climate and you've never made yourself worsted weight socks, you should totally go for it, because they are super soft and squishy and comfy. And definitely the sort of item you want to have available to you for those days when it's well below freezing, as happens. So hopefully we won't get well below freezing again till December, January next year. All right. So my other whips I have are my own design. I'm still working on. I really should have finished this by now, but in my defense, it's a fingering weight sweater, and it does feel like obligation knitting because my husband bought the yarn and told me roughly what I should make out of it. But I'm getting there. Let's see, where's the progress one? This is the progress keeper from where I was last podcast, like 2.5 weeks ago or so. So I finished off the body. I've got one sleeve done, and the other sleeve not quite to the elbow. So I'll be done soon. I need to add some details around the neck. But this is tentatively called the hiccup pullover, which is a reference to How to Train Your Dragon. Specifically to the books, though, because I really enjoying the books. They're different. The books are different than the movie. I won't say they're the books are necessarily better than the movie. The movie is definitely in the keeping with the spirit of the books, but the storyline is quite different. So yeah. So this is probably going to be the Hiccup pullover for Hiccup Horrendous Haddock III, the little boy hero of How to Train Your Dragon. Partly because I like reading that to Duncan, and this sweater's for Duncan, and partly because the cables was inspired by the Elspeth of Old Viking Knits books that I had from way back when. So I was thinking Vikings, and from Vikings I went to How to Train Your Dragon. And that's just the way my mind works. I need to slow down. Am I talking too fast? I'm probably talking too fast and mumbling. I mumble way too much. I'm sorry. I will try not to. All right, and here's my version of the Hiccup pullover. Here's the back. Where did I put the progress? Wow, the progress marker's on the front. All right, so this big honkin' progress keeper, that's where I was last podcast. I just started blending in the Cosmic Speckle. This is made out of Hawthorne Speckle yarn from Knit Picks. Mostly leftovers from the sweaters I made for the kids, not the Cosmic though. So I was using the Cosmic to blend and try to blend from the Jupiter into the Andromeda that I have from leftover from Margaret's sweater. Yeah, it's still not the best transition, but I can live with it. And I will show you how the Andromeda and this is the Andromeda and this is the Cosmic, and I think they'll actually blend well together, because even though this is a bit darker and way more pink, they both have the cobalt speckles in them. I think it'll work. So I just need to do a few more inches on the body here, and then do the sleeves. And then I'll be I'm done with that. But I want to finish Duncan's sleeves before I start on the sleeves for this one, which is why I've been stalling a bit on it. Yes. And I am once again stuffing a fingering weight sweater into what is meant to be a sock sack, because I need more project bags. Though I will say, Duncan's has Project Place, my favorite project bag. This is from Stitch Life Bags, the Outlander bag, and I love it. Again, with the color combinations, look, see, this is where my purple and green love comes from. It's like purple and green and pale blue with the gold. I just love the way colors look when you combine certain colors. It's a thing. All right. So I didn't really have that much else to talk about except maybe some dream knitting. I got some more knit picks. I got a bunch of colors of palette because I'm thinking about various color work projects. And I thought I'd get the 4 likeliest colors, and then see how they look together, and then maybe start some mittens, and then depending on how they worked together, order more certain colors for some of the wonderful color work yokes that are coming out. I just queued Ellie's Blowfield pattern from Scandier Knits. It just came out. And I'm definitely going to want to do that, but not in the blues that she did, because I don't like blues on their own, though I might very well love it if I combine it with a gold and yellow, or maybe this color, which is really sort of a brownish yellow, but still it's got that kind of look to it, where it would make a blue pop for me. And I'm thinking of this combination for some of her Yggdrasil mitts too. Stray yarn there. because I like I like a green and a purple, and gray goes with everything as far as I'm concerned. This color gray, the dove hat. This is mist, not dove heather, but it's very similar to their dove heather and their other yarns. This color gray, it goes with everything as far as I'm concerned. And it's a good color for me. So, and green is of course a good color for any redhead. But I also would like, say, a pale green with a darker purple too. It's another one of my favorite color combinations is the purple and green. I said that again. Yeah, purple and green, black and gold, blue and gold, gray, and just about anything. Oh, all right. Well, I guess that's really all I have to talk about this week. Thank you for bearing with me and watching, and happy knitting and happy success in all your making. And have a good time until I talk to you again.